Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Neither Here Nor There podcast. This is the 9th episode, I believe. This is actually the first time that Caleb and I have done a podcast by ourselves without a guest, so it's definitely something new. But we wanted to apologize for not being as active. Yeah, putting out episodes every week like we said we would. I've been super busy with work, and Caleb as well with work and school. So just want to start out apologizing for that. We're going to try our best to put out as many episodes as we can. I'm not going to promise anything every week. We'd love to, but yeah, we've just kind of been absent for personal reasons too. So
I think we're going to be kind of doing something like this a lot more often as well, where it's me and Zach, or me, Zach, and then a reoccurring guest.
Yeah.
Moving forward, so that way we won't run out of content. We won't have the issue of not finding a guest and things like that. So this is something definitely that will be considered moving forward, depending on how this one goes.
Our next guest is actually, it's going to be a really fun one, I think. I'm really excited. So well. It was actually supposed to happen a while ago, but we got busy and things happened and setbacks, all that good stuff. So anyhow, let's get into this. I think, Caleb, you had some stuff that you're going to talk about?
Yeah, for sure. So something that I know me and you kind of talked about before we started recording, but something really important is coming up, I think, within the next 2 days. I think it's on the 5th or the 6th. Georgia Senate runoff races are taking place, and the winner of that controls the Senate, and whoever that is either, if it's the Democrats, they're going to control the House and the Senate, and if it's the Republicans, Mitch McConnell's going to stay in his exact same spot. So.
Yeah, I don't think about Mitch McConnell. I don't think anybody that age should be in office whatsoever.
That's a good point, and I agree as well.
I think once you hit the age of 65 or at most 70, because once you're 65, you're technically a senior citizen. What did you get your AAA? Or is that by I think that's by 50 actually. But 65, you're seen as a senior citizen. And once you start getting older, I respect all of our senior citizens, but once you start getting older, your brain also starts deteriorating.
Yeah,
you start acting like a child in ways too.
We begin to notice within a certain threshold of an age span. So, let's just say between 55 and 70, roughly, your mind slowly begins to deteriorate, go downhill, slowly but surely. And then we kind of
definitely after the age 70, because but I do know a lot of people that are really sharp between ages 50 and 70. They're super, super sharp.
That's a good point as well.
But after 70, that's definitely, you shouldn't be in office for anything then.
So, just from a couple examples I've seen, the average age of Congress, I want to say, is 70, or maybe a little bit older than that. It's no younger than 70. And whenever I took an upper-level Congress class this last semester, and I learned the ins and the entire outs of Congress. Yeah. I worked as our assignments were to act as a member of Congress and to work for a member of Congress. So, I saw the complete ins and outs of how everything worked, and it was really interesting because when you begin to notice that people like Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden, people at this age are getting elected in the office. Bernie Sanders is still in office. You know what I mean? When you see things like that happen, it kind of limits the progression of the United States. And we're in such an age of youth, technology, advancement, and continue pushing forward. And that's what America's always been about, is pushing forward. But something different, though, is we've always tried to conserve our core values. And I completely agree with conserving the core values. You don't want to get rid of what the country is founded on. But at the same time, when you have people that limit progression, they live in that time of where it's no, this is still the 50s, this is still the 60s. Yeah. You can't do those kind of things.
You can't have any kind of progression or advancement that way. I think it'd be good to have a mix of ages.
That's what I believe.
Because you'd balance each other out, because there's some younger people that would be, once they got in there, I feel like they would be too radical in a sense. Not radical, but way too progressive in a sense. And I feel like having somebody that's older, more than likely has more conservative views, would kind of limit that progressiveness. So it would just have a good balance with each other, have a mix of ages in there.
And see, this is my issue that I have with all my political friends. Like, I love politics and I love sitting there talking it and I love reading it and learning about it, but I love political debates, but I hate getting into them because some of the friends that I have that may be so far Republican, they don't understand that the whole Republican thing is like, I don't care what your situation is, do better. And I mean, that's how I was raised, and I'm all for that. But at the same time, there's some things, everybody's been helped out in life. And so there's some things that could help everybody as a whole and continue to progress forward.
Right.
Rather than everybody just saying, okay, this is your fault, you need to do better. And I understand that. I agree with that. But I mean, that's kind of what we're facing right now is like the situation that's a really hot topic is the stimulus check right now. We have the $600 check that everybody should be receiving that meets the requirements versus the $2,000 proposal.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to talk about this is kind of interesting because a lot of people don't, if you don't dive deep into it, you don't really know what's going on. But with the whole $600 situation, the reason why it is only $600 is because Mitch McConnell blocked the opportunity to vote. And with Mitch McConnell blocking the opportunity to vote, there wasn't even a chance.
Yeah.
And then Donald Trump came out and said, no, I want to do the 2000,
and
which
what
shocked everybody.
What was Mitch McConnell's reasoning for that?
He came out publicly and said he doesn't want the Republicans to be bullied by the Democrats into spending more money than need be. And here's my problem, okay? They're like, well, we don't want to spend the extra $200 billion, $500 billion, but we're $27 trillion in debt right now.
Yeah.
They didn't really give a damn before that. You know what I mean? And this is actually something that could help the American people.
Yeah.
But what Donald Trump did was, knowing that he's going to, most likely lose the election
definitely.
results. So, with that being said, him and Mitch McConnell haven't seen eye to eye. And
Right.
he was like, no. I know this is what Mitch said, but this is what we need to do.
Right.
And Mitch is trying to get reelected as Senate Majority Leader. And so Trump and him, since they've been butting heads, he's trying to get Mitch McConnell out of that spot.
I wish he would. Isn't he like 80 years old?
He's old, dude. And we're going to find out in about 2 days what's going to happen. Because the way it's looking right now is the Republicans are going to end up winning. But Democrats have a really strong push. They're only down by like 80,000 votes. And so it's going to be close. It's going to be really close. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. What do you think about the $600 stimulus check versus $2,000?
I won't be getting any of it regardless. Because didn't they, aren't they using the taxes from 2019?
Yeah, and I saw, you might want to check into this. I don't know how it completely works, but if you didn't get either one, you might be able to claim it as a tax credit. So you might still be able to get both of them.
Yeah, that would be nice. I didn't get either one because I was claimed on taxes. But I think it's good for the people who have been affected by COVID, who haven't been able to work. But for the people who have been able to work and it's really hasn't hindered them being able to go to work, because like for me, I can work from home if I need to. Like, it wouldn't really affect me. Then it's like you don't really need it. But the people who have been hindered, that have to go to like a construction site and work there, and you can't work from home, then it's great. And wasn't the first one like $1,200?
The first one was $1,200 per person in the household meeting a certain income requirement. So I think the most you could get was like $3,200 because you could claim your children and stuff.
And this is just a one-time? It
was a one-time thing.
Okay. I think it's good. I can see how we only want to do $600. We need to save money, but we're already in debt. We're already, like you said, $27 trillion. So it's like we might as well help out everyone as much as we can right now, but
there's a thing that they call it like the debt clock, and it's always going up.
Yeah.
And I was checking it out, and we're at $27,203,384,382,939 in debt. And I'm really happy I got that on the first try because that's a big ass number.
And it's just going up like crazy right now, isn't it?
It's going up. And I already clicked off of it, but I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot, and I don't know. Do you know who Andrew Yang is?
I've heard of him.
Okay, I like Andrew Yang. He's not a typical Democrat,
Yeah.
right? And so he's not so crazy far left, but he puts an emphasis on stopping big tech and
Oh,
big
yeah.
big pharma and then stuff like that. He
Mm.
wants to kind of eliminate what the big companies are allowed to do in certain
Right.
senses, and I like that idea. But he proposed this thing called universal income, and what we're kind of noticing is the stimulus checks are basically like
Yeah.
universal income. And a lot of countries like Germany, Canada, and several others have adopted this thing during the pandemic that's like, we're going to give you this much money per month until this is over.
Mm.
And it's kind of testing the waters of what universal income is going to be like.
That's true.
And I guarantee if you were to ask every American citizen, a majority of them would say universal income
Yeah.
is something they want because they got a taste of the stimulus check. They know it's guaranteed money. But the problem is like, okay, where are we going to get the money to do that? And his proposal was we're going to tax big companies the way they should be taxed.
Yeah.
And we're going to use that to disperse it to American citizens to try to level out the income to debt ratio and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they get all these big companies get tax breaks for coming to
Oh.
certain cities. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder how big of a tax break Tesla got for going to Austin. Surely it was
know.
massive.
And
Had to
like-
been more than Tulsa's offered them.
And then you see companies like Amazon who don't pay any taxes. And that's what they got in trouble for. And then they're underpaying their employees. Their employees went on strike months ago. Like, this was a whole big thing. And if you want to fact check that, you guys can check it out. But I sound like I'm so far left. I'm not. But I like the idea of equality. Not in the sense of we're like, I'm going to hand you this out and I'll take this handout and we're equal. I don't like that. I like the idea that everybody works for everything and they've worked for everything they own. So, I
Right.
mean, I completely understand. But just because you've made it so far doesn't mean that your life begins to get easier than somebody who hasn't even had the opportunity to get there yet.
That's true.
So that's my whole thing. I don't know, but I kind of like the whole stimulus check thing because it tests the water of universal income. And now that we've gotten a taste of it, and the White House economist even said that the stimulus checks are super beneficial. They help the economy out a lot, especially in times like this. It prepares for times like this.
Yeah.
If something like this ever happened again, we would be ready. I don't know. I just kind of thought that idea was cool. Now,
So
I don't know.
on the universal income, how did Yang propose it?
He wanted to tax tech companies.
Big companies, but like, were only certain people, like, how was it given out?
Okay.
Stuff like that.
So
should be.
everybody would receive one, but what would happen is, like, let's say you already received certain government benefits
Right.
that put you an advantage prior to that.
Or what if I already have a big income from my job?
So you may want to fact check me on this because I haven't looked at it in a while. But I believe the way he proposed it was, I don't believe there was like a huge income limit. But what his main emphasis was like, okay, if you're already receiving these government benefits, you're going
Right.
to have the option to choose between this and this,
Yeah.
in a sense. So don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive that's what it was. We can always double check. Let's look.
I was curious about that because I like working for my money. There's a certain satisfaction you get from
Yes.
that. I don't think I could, unless I had COVID and had to sit out for 14 weeks, then I'd be like, I need some money, But I can't just sit around and get paid for nothing. That it kind of gets under my skin when other people do it.
Yeah, and I mean I agree, and especially if people can work. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's the like the conservative Republican part in it is like if you can work, you have to work, and I agree with that. But I just want to see how this would, because the stimulus checks help the economy. So now I know our economy is at a low because of
Yeah.
the coronavirus. So I mean I understand that, but if everything went back to normal, I want to see how much that would affect our economy. It's not like we don't. Here's my problem. It's like it's possible we could rearrange funding and allocate things to prioritize it. It's just we don't know where our money's going half the time.
No.
And when the last stimulus bill got proposed, that was going to get blocked by Trump, but then they were going to override Trump.
Yeah.
He was like, no, your money's going here, here, here to these other countries, and this is why. And then, like, the good guy, I was like, well, maybe they, supplied us with certain equipment during the pandemic, and we're paying
Right.
it back, stuff like that. But I guarantee that's not it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we don't know that we're paying for. And so
Were you able to find anything?
I found,
We need our Jamie.
So here's kind of what his proposal is. It says Andrew proposes funding the freedom dividend, which is what he calls it,
Yeah.
by consolidating some welfare programs, so getting rid of some and then consolidating them together, and implementing a value-added tax of 10%. Current welfare and social programs beneficiaries would be given a choice between their current benefits, like I was saying, or $1,000 cash unconditionally. So they could either continue the welfare programs they were on,
Right.
or they could take this $1,000 in cash every month.
Hmm.
So it's an additional $12,000 a year.
That'd be nice.
And it says a value-added tax is a tax on the production of goods or services a business produces. It is a fair tax and makes it much harder for large corporations who are experts at hiding profits and income to avoid paying their fair share of taxes. A value-added tax is nothing new. 160 out of 193 countries in the entire world already have a value-added tax. And the United States does not. So, I don't have an issue with that. And I don't know. I got into an argument with a guy at work because he didn't understand the difference between socialism and communism. And he was saying that it's the same thing, but it's not the same thing. It can turn into communism, but it's not the same thing. And I'm not socialist by any means, but me and a guy were talking about it. And I do agree with certain socialist programs being implemented, maybe something like a universal basic income or universal health care or something like that could progress society's health or well-being. So, I don't know. It's just an idea to check out. It's an idea to note.
Yeah. You know me, I'm not too deep into politics. I just kind of know the basis. If something gets under my skin, though, I'll definitely do my research on it. But the thing about politics is I'm passionate about it, I guess, when I want, which sounds bad, but that's the reason I don't want to look into it, because
So you get super into it.
Yeah, I'll get super into it. It'll stress me out, and it's just like,
that's how I am about
I kind of
things.
feel like the country is going to be ran how it's going to be ran, like it needs to be ran. I mean, because there's so many people in Congress, all of that. There's all these checks and balances, but at the same time, it's like some of these laws and all that can be put in place can change a lot in the blink of an eye. So it's kind of like, maybe I should get into politics, but I just don't want that added stress in my life.
See, what I've kind of come to figure out about politics is like as a kid, you think everybody that is in Congress or is in office is super intelligent and they know to make the right decision every time. And then when you get older and if you actually look into it, you realize it's just one big game. It's like high school. You have this group over here and you have this group over here. And these guys think what they're doing is right, and then these guys think what they're doing is right. And then they have to try to meet in the middle and agree sometimes, but the people underneath them suffer because they are too selfish.
And then what makes it worse are the lobbyists that are pushing, or these other people that are pushing the lobbyist agendas, and it's just like...
Yeah, and then you think about it even further, it's like, my professor was talking to us about this. He did a really great job of asking us like really deep questions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was like, does Congress have too much power? And when they originally created... not the Declaration of Independence, but the Constitution. When they created the Constitution, that was something like factions weren't supposed to be created. Like they were worried about factions, so like parties. They were worried about parties and stuff. And this was the exact reason why. It's because of what's going on right now. And I don't think people realized how bad it was until the coronavirus. We couldn't get a stimulus bill passed whenever it first happened. Everybody was suffering. Unemployment was skyrocketing. Nobody knew what to do. They finally passed a stimulus package. And when I just don't know. I mean, there's so many things you could propose to change, but it's worked, decently well, but we have so many issues. I don't know. Politics is tough. It's really a tough thing.
You've got to try to meet the needs of all these people.
337 million Americans.
It's got to be tough. And we're coming up on, in March, it'll be a year since quarantine first started.
A lot of countries are going back into quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they were saying around this time there's going to be another shutdown of everything. Yeah. They said it was going to be in December, though.
Britain and Scotland just proposed a shutdown to where it's like you can go to work. Something I really liked about this, though, is they said you can go to work, you can go work out to get exercise for your health.
Yeah.
Take care of your body.
Yeah.
They said you go, get groceries, essential stuff, and then other than that, we don't want anybody out going around. I like the part that they valued working out and stuff like that. That was in Scotland. I don't know if Britain did the same thing.
Well, and apparently in the UK and India, there's another strand of coronavirus, and I think there was another one somewhere in the U.S.
Colorado.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it may have been Colorado. I don't know if that's just a rumor or if that's just...
They reported the first case like a week ago, a couple days ago in Colorado of the new strand. So I don't know what to think about that, but you know, to our audience listening now, this may come out of my mouth the wrong way the first time I say it, so just kind of bear with me here, and then I'll go into a little bit further explanation. But our society now is promoting obesity at such a high rate, and I'm not saying if you're overweight, I'm going to look at you. I'm not saying any of that, but what I am saying is like your health is important.
Yes.
And what comes with obesity is detrimental health issues. And so with that being said, I see a lot of people like, I can't believe the coronavirus killed my friend. I can't believe the coronavirus did this. They're so young. I don't understand. 20, 30-year-olds dying. But a lot of them, if you look, like extremely obese, overweight, obese. And let's check it and see how many people in the United States is obese. I want to say it's like 70%.
It's a ridiculous amount.
Or 50%, I'm sorry.
And then to go along with that is like 70% or 73 or 75% of the U.S. population is vitamin D deficient.
That as well. They don't realize how important it is. It says in 2016, that was almost 5 years ago.
7.
It was almost 5 years ago. 39% of adults aged 18 or older, that's not including children, that's just adults. So with children, that number is going to increase. 39% of men and 40% of women were overweight. And it says with the worldwide prevalence of obesity has nearly tripled between 1975 and 2016.
Oh my gosh.
It's just going to continue to get worse because it's becoming a normality now.
Yeah, I got a problem with... I'm probably going to get frowned upon by saying this because I've never struggled with obesity in my life. I've always been a skinny guy, high metabolism, all that. But my problem with that is that people... It's not that people need to fat shame, but at the same time, I don't think we should promote people who are obese and they are calling themselves healthy. Because you're not healthy. You're risking your body right now and risking your body of cardiovascular diseases, all of that.
Yep.
Your joints, your bones. I just can't get behind promoting that. I want people to be healthy, and it makes me sound bad saying it. But
I don't think it does. And the reason why you think it makes you sound bad, I think, is because of how normal it's becoming.
Yeah. And I think I'm not going to be like, if I see somebody in the gym who's overweight, but they're working to like lose weight and be healthier, I'm not going to like look down upon them or anything. But if I see a person, just say on social media, who is just really obese and they're like, oh, I'm so healthy. This is the best I've ever felt. And it's like,
I really doubt that. Yeah.
Are you sure? I just like here recently. Me and you have been going to the gym and
last couple of weeks.
I feel great. Like I
do too.
I don't drink pop anymore. I try not to. I say I don't drink pop. I'll drink it every once in a while, but it's very rare. All I drink is like water and stuff now. I try to stay away from sugar, but around the holidays it's really, really hard. And you feel so much better. I remember one summer, all I was doing was I was just cutting hay and raking it and stacking hay, all that good jazz. And I told myself all I'm going to do is drink water, Gatorade after, I sweat a lot, all that. And I cut out sweet tea and stuff for the most part. And all I drank was water and Gatorade that summer and a little bit of tea. Dude, I felt great. Like I had energy all the time. And granted, I was like 19, had 18, 19. I had energy all the time. I was never tired. The benefits of it are great, but people, they just don't want to give up the pop just because sugar is like one of the most addicting things on this world.
Yeah, definitely. And I drink diet soda.
Yeah.
It's not, it's a little bit better, but it's not much better by any means. But I drink maybe a glass or two a day, and I drink so much fluids. Like I drink so much water too that I'll drink 5-6 bottles of water, and that's not enough, but it's quite a bit. And so back to your point earlier about seeing people in the gym working out, that makes me respect
Yeah,
so
no,
much.
definitely.
I respect it so much. And
Because they have to get out and because people are doing that. They obviously know they're overweight or they need to get back into shape. So they're like, oh man, I'm going to this gym. People may judge me, and they're
Yeah.
going in there regardless. So I definitely respect that.
a lot of times people look for this magic pill or this magic diet, and like the keto diet, for example, you're going to lose weight quick. And that's just how it works because you're going to limit carbohydrates, you're going to increase your protein. I mean, that's just how it's going to work. But the issue is, number one, keto's bad for you anyway. But number
Yeah.
two, it's only going to work for a little bit.
Mhm.
And when you go back to a normal diet, because you can't do that forever.
No.
And when you go back to normal diet, you're going to gain all that
Yep.
weight back. And people don't. Diet is the most important thing, but exercise is also extremely important. You should be exercising anyway. Even if you eat bad, you should be exercising.
Well,
And I
diet's like 80%.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went on like almost a 2-week period where I just ate meat, vegetables, fruit, like healthy nuts,
Mhm.
and then I think that was it. I mean, that's all, like meat, vegetables, healthy nuts, fruit, and I felt the best my body's ever felt in a
Right.
long time. I was drinking a lot of water, but I just promoting obesity to me, and it mainly happens with women of more things. You don't really see men doing those kind of
Yeah.
things like that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to stereotype one group or the other, but I mean that's just what you see on social
Right.
media. And for example, like I've seen people that I know get upset when certain celebrities or whatever talk about, obesity isn't healthy. Like Joe Rogan, he got criticized hard for that.
Mhm.
And then they'll quote his stuff and say, "My body is perfectly fine." Da 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 da. And then they're over here ordering pizza all the time.
Yeah.
And they post about it, and I've seen it, and I have an issue with it because as somebody that has an autoimmune disease like diabetes, for example, where your weight is extremely important,
Yeah.
I know what happens firsthand. Your body begins to slowly like shut down in a sense.
Right.
And I think I'm about 6 foot tall, and the biggest weight that I'd gotten up to is 185. Now I was lifting with that, but I
Right.
wasn't eating healthy, so it wasn't like a healthy 185, and my body felt awful. And so I went and worked out at the DC. I dropped down to 170. I dropped 15 pounds. My body felt the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
And then I was in shape. I was doing good. I got back up to like 175, 180, and I kind of know what range my body should be at now.
Right.
But with those people that are 250, 260, 280, 300, 330, like plus, and going even further up, you don't know what a healthy weight for you is because you've been this big like your whole entire life.
Yeah.
This is normal to you, and you know how your body feels, and that's a normal feeling because your body's adjusted to it. That doesn't mean it's healthy. It just means your body's adjusted to it.
That's very true.
And we see that happening all the time. Like, no, I feel fine. But it's just because your body's allowing you to think that because it's an everyday thing. This is an everyday thing. You weigh this much every single day.
You have no reference to actually what is healthy and what it feels good.
And people all the time are like, oh, I lost 10, 20 pounds and I feel great. Well, then, yeah, exactly.
Keep doing it.
You need to keep going. And it sounds bad, but like I don't really care. It's fact. Facts don't care about your feelings, quoting Ben Shapiro. But working out, eating healthy, we're not meant. You also got to take into consideration we're not meant to eat 3, 4, 5 times a day. And people think they got to go here. And listen, I'm one of them, but I have a high metabolism, so I got to eat a lot.
Yeah.
But our ancestors, hunters and gatherers, that's what we came from. They didn't get 3 deer a day. They didn't, you know what I'm saying? They didn't get 3 birds, and they may have if they're lucky, but, they weren't eating this many times a day, and they were burning so many calories where they didn't have cars. They didn't have all this other stuff. You know what I mean? And so we're not meant to be doing those kind of things. And it's getting worse, and it's continuously getting worse. And I know people personally that it really bothers me that they think it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it kind of makes me feel like a douche, but because I've never struggled with it, you know what I mean? I've always been
I agree,
skinny,
yeah.
but so I don't know what it's like in their shoes. But at the same time, like I kind of noticed I was getting a little tub on my stomach. I was like, man, I've really, really got to start working out. And like I went and played basketball the other day. I was up on the court one time, and I was out of breath. It's like I've got to get back into shape. But the satisfaction of after getting a good workout in, or even just going to the gym and playing basketball,
It's unmatched. Yeah, I feel great when I sweat. That's why people are like, "Oh, you love it when it's 100 degrees outside?" Yeah, I love it when it's 100 degrees outside. I love to sweat. I love to get out and do stuff. I love the fact of my body just getting tore down so much that I worked so hard that I can't move.
Yeah.
Same thing with my hands. Like I don't like working with gloves or anything because my hands, I can't feel what I'm doing, and I like feeling the grit of it. You know, it sounds weird, but I mean that's just how I like it.
Yeah, I mean, we go in the sauna before and after we work out.
I remember you were kind of skeptical about doing it at first.
I was like,
it's gonna be hot.
180, 190 degrees,
Yeah.
depending on who's in there or if anybody's in there. Dude, now I'm kind of addicted to it. But the benefits of it are great.
The heat shock proteins are extremely important. It reverses like possibilities of cancer, high blood pressure, stuff like that.
Well, it's good for your mental health too, isn't it?
Yeah, good for your mental health. Increases your how good you can sleep at night.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just all kinds of things. And if you look at those guys that are in like Iceland, Scotland, Norway, Sweden, that kind of where the sauna originated at, they live a lot longer and they live a lot better. But that's something they do regularly. I mean, this isn't like I was listening to somebody you don't like, Dr. Rhonda Patrick.
I respect her and what she does, and I think she's a cool person, but just kind of her voice gets on my nerves. And people probably say the same thing. That dude's voice gets on my nerves. But I respect what she does and all that. I don't know. I'll give her another chance.
She's one person that I can trust absolutely wholeheartedly with like any medical research that she does. And she went to, I can't remember, I want to say Sweden. Don't quote me on that, but I want to say Sweden to go do this sauna stuff. And while she was over there, she was kind of conducting a study on it. And something that they do is kind of funny. They do it naked over there. Like it's a little bit different how they do stuff.
Yeah.
It's cold as shit there. It's snow. When it gets cold, it's cold.
Yeah.
And she went over there when it was really cold and it was like snowing and ice everywhere. And so something they did is she said she didn't get naked because she was uncomfortable. She's married, whatever, and she didn't. Her morals and ethics weren't valued like that. But she said she went over there and they kind of did like a sort of like stretching while they were in it and stuff, and then they went outside and did yoga out in the cold, and then they would go back in, hit the sauna, and then just like kind of like that and vice versa. And she said like it was amazing. And I know like when me and you get out of the sauna, like when we go in there and then when we come out, it's like 70 degrees in our gym.
But it still feels so cold in there.
Yeah, and it just hits you, and like from that heat to that cold feels amazing. I love it to death. But I don't know, dude, there's just something about sweating and feeling that kind of workout and just kind of feeling the heat hit you. That's like, yeah.
I was in there yesterday, and that old guy that's always in there.
Yeah.
He's got to be. He's gonna live forever.
Dude,
as much as he's in there, he had another guy.
He's in good shape.
Dude, he had another guy in there with him, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna do some breathing exercise." And they were like getting into it, and like, you can do it with us if you want. I was like, I've already been in here for. I was in there for 15 minutes. I was almost done, and like they were getting after it. And that guy's always in. Like every time we go, pretty much every time we go, he's in there.
Yeah, he's in there quite a bit. And back to what he was. When he was referencing breathing exercises, they also conducted a study. I think Rhonda Patrick did. This is who I heard it from, and she talked about conducting the study. So she said that doing the sauna and the breathing exercises in the sauna is just as efficient for your cardiovascular system and your lungs as doing cardio itself.
I believe it. You're making your body work so much harder because you're in that really hot sauna. It's going to put it to work. I kind of did it with them for a little bit because they were breathing like deep and fast. It wore me out.
You know what I want to do, kind of? If I ever had the money to do this, which maybe if I'm rich one day or you're rich one day, but I want to start taking like maybe 2 months, 3 months, 2 months out of the year, and then going to train at elevation.
Oof.
Maybe like Colorado, Big Bear, California, somewhere over there.
Well, Colorado Springs, I believe, is where the Olympics train because it's at a high elevation.
Yeah, I know a lot of fighters, like UFC fighters and stuff, they go to Big Bear, and they go to the top of the mountain, and they train up there. And then, like, my favorite fighter, he lives in Russia, so he literally lives in a mountain, and so he trains at elevation, so his lungs are used to that kind of stuff. I want to go see the difference and see how much different it is going from that high to dry, arid Oklahoma, really flat, you know what I mean? And see kind of what that feels like. But I want to take, like, a month or two to kind of go out there and see what that would be like.
That'd be insane.
But
those Russians are built different, dude.
Yeah, the Russians are damn well built different.
Khabib's not that good of a fighter, though.
Yeah, you're crazy. Them Russians are built different, dude. And Russia's a whole different ball game over there.
Dude.
You can fight in the street, dude. Like
Soviet Russia.
they don't, dude. I was listening to this guy talk about a fight that he got into, and it's like he was getting interviewed, and when they were interviewing him, he's like, "Yeah, I got to fight in a market, in the mall, and stuff like that." And he said there was like 6 or 7 of us on fighting these other guys, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Well, where are the cops and all this to take place?" He said they just sit back and watch until it's all done, and if it gets out of control, then they step
Yeah.
in. But they let you get it all out of the way, and then if it all is resolved, fine, then they just kind of let it go. But if it gets out of hand, weapons, whatever, then they start stepping in.
Jeez. Imagine being a Russian.
Kind of wish I lived over there, dude. It can make you hardcore. Some guy, what the hell's Jordan Jonas? You know him?
No.
He was on Alone, won, like, I don't know what season of Alone he won, but he won a season of Alone. And if you would have knew this, if you could have placed a bet on anybody going into that show who was going to win, which I wish I could have, and if you knew his credentials going into that show, there wouldn't have even been a second chance of guessing on who would have won that show besides him. Because this dude, when he was a kid, he kind of moved around. When he turned 18, he started moving around and stuff, traveled with his brother as like a vagabond, basically.
Right.
And then he somehow made his way, I want to say, to Russia. And he started living with all these tribes and stuff like that. And then like riding caribou, so riding reindeer and stuff. And just hunting and living in the worst conditions you could possibly live in, dude. And he said there were some places where he would get to that the only way you're going to get saved is by helicopter, maybe not even helicopter. But if you got injured, if anything happened, oh well, you kind of just got to rely on people around you to be able to take care of you because you're not.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any medical professionals around.
Jeez.
So I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool, but I DM'd him on Instagram, and he DM'd me back, and I asked him, if he ever wanted to come on the show or anything. And he told me to kind of talk to his sister, who was his manager.
Oh, yeah, I
guess.
remember that.
And I emailed her and didn't get an email back, so shout out to her. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I got a response though. He was on Joe Rogan. He was on JRE.
Really?
Yeah.
I think one of probably one of the coolest podcasts I listened to was I can't think of his name. This guy walked.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
He walked like a ridiculous amount. I want to say like 4,500 miles.
He walked from one side of the earth to the other, right? Isn't that what
Something like that.
the whole thing was?
Let me look it up real quick.
If money wasn't a thing and people didn't care about, like having a job, having a retirement, I wouldn't mind trying to do that.
Dude, he said it was tough. I think it took him a year or over a year to do it.
I think if I had a couple
and
friends.
And his stories were crazy that he had.
I imagine. If I had a couple friends, my wife, and then, presumably all the conditions are perfect where I can access medicine whenever I needed it, like diabetes medicine and stuff.
Yeah.
I would definitely, and didn't care about my future and how long-term things are going to go, I'd definitely consider doing it.
The guy's name was Ash Dykes. He was the first to walk Yangtze River in China.
That's a long-ass ways.
That's insane.
Something that I've kind of been putting more thought into, I guess, is energy. And there's something about being out in the wilderness and being out in the woods, secluded from everything else, that you just feel the energy and it kind of balances you out.
No, it's definitely a different kind of feeling. I told you a buddy of mine, we're going out to California next year on a trip, and we're going to hit all the well, not all of them, but we're going to hit at least 10, I believe, national parks. And we're going to stay the night in all of them, and it's definitely going to be a different kind of experience. I'm pumped for it, but yeah, being out in the wilderness, whether it's just like Oklahoma forest, just being out there in nature, it's a completely different kind of feeling.
It's like you don't worry about anything.
No.
You get out there. I love to fish, so when I go out, I like to fish. And I like to hike as well. I like seeing cool stuff, but I love to fish. And so, for example, when the quarantine happened, the first thing I was like, I'm not sitting inside. I got to go outside. I don't care if I got to go out in the woods. I'm going outside. And so I was like, okay, this is the perfect time for me to get out, go fishing, go do whatever I want. And then, the city of Norman made this big deal, oh, you're not supposed to be fishing. You're not supposed to be doing this. I didn't care. I still went fishing. But We went to Mount Scott a couple times.
Oh yeah.
And we got deep up there, and it was awesome. It's just something, I don't know, dude. It's just something that being out in the woods and being that deep into the woods is just. I like it as a challenge.
Yeah.
I like the feeling, oh, survival, you know. But I like that kind of feeling. But at the same time, it's like seeing waterfalls or streams or creeks, then fishing really clear water, catching fish, just stuff like that, sitting around a campfire.
Yeah.
You just can't beat that. I'd rather do that 10 times out of 10 than sit inside.
Yeah, that like it was just a robber's cave, but my dad and I went over there on around Thanksgiving.
Robert's Cave's
and,
pretty.
It's for some reason I've been there before when I was younger, but it was kind of like underwhelming. I get, especially now since I went cave diving, you know.
I got to do that at least once.
Dude.
I'm just scared of drowning. I don't want to get too
I'll have to
deep
talk
over.
about that in a second, but so like went to Robert's Cave, and when you get up on top of the cave, you can just look out, and it's just all of these rolling hills and stuff, and it's so pretty. And there's a lot of there was quite a few people there that day, so it's kind of not like you're in nature because it's like
Yeah,
you know,
I see what you're saying.
but it was still really pretty, and just going to stuff like that, it's a different experience. But being there was the cave itself was a little underwhelming, and saying that now, you know, I went cave diving with Kevin Blackwood, the guy we had on, and because this is what happened. Me and Eli were supposed to go duck hunting on one Sunday morning, and I get on Instagram, and I look at Kevin's story, and it says, hey, open spot tomorrow if anyone wants to go cave diving. And it was like 11:30 at night, and I seen him in DM, and I said, hey, is there a spot open? He said, surprisingly, yes. He said, do you want to go? And I said, oh, yeah. And I texted Eli, you know, flaked on him, and he was a little upset about that, but he's fine. He flakes on everybody else.
That is a good point.
So we went, and this place was around Sulphur. I don't know if I'm able to actually say where it was, but
Yeah.
it was around Sulphur. And the funny thing was, I'd actually been a mile. I used to we used to stay at a ranch there, like a mile away. I was like, these caves were here the whole time, and I didn't even know about it. But these caves, this was the first like big trip of the year to go down in these caves, because the air down there, you know, there could not be enough oxygen. There could be some kind of gas in there. So you have to go down there and test it. And if it's good, you can go down in there. And the first one we went in, he was talking to us on the way out there. He was like, yeah, you know, you'll be coming out here one day, and there's all these creeks are full of water, and the next day we come out, they're completely dry. He said, so you'll just kind of go down these little streams, these creeks, and then there's a hole in the ground. He said, and that's like where this cave finally fell through, and it just opened up. And we went to one of those, and he's been in it before, and we went down there. It was about a 15-foot drop, and before we went in, he goes, hey, I'll go in first. He said, but if you ever hear something like it's puffing up, like somebody's taking a deep breath, he said more than likely it's a rattlesnake. You know, he was just kind of inching his way down there. That was my biggest fear going down in there, was snakes.
Yeah.
And, you know, luckily we didn't see any, and it's cold, so, you know, if we did see one, they'd be slow. But we went down in there and got down in there, and like there's probably about, I want to say 3 foot of space between the ground and the top of this cave. It was shallow, and there's some bats in there and stuff. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go down here and look and see if there's an opening, because, you know, water's always running through and opening up more parts of it and everything. And there's this one guy with us. He's a little bit bigger, and he's like, nah, there ain't no way I make it in there. And we get down in there, and it's so cool. And cave darkness is,
it's different.
It's like, it's so dark, dude. I sound stupid saying that, but
it's a different kind of darkness.
yeah, it's like you can't see anything down there. And we get down there, and like I'm crawling on my back through this, just kind of shimmying, and that one was really shallow, so we went back up and went to the next one. And this one, it was short, but you could stand up in it. And the next one was a really, really interesting one. And we actually found some new caves that day that needed to be opened up, just by water and stuff. Just, you got to wait for time. But the one they've been in, they call it blowhole, because there's always water coming out of it. Like the walls of this cave, because it's probably, It's probably about a 15-foot drop too. Actually, probably not that. Probably about 10. But the walls of this are always wet, so there's always like humidity coming out, and so we go down in there, and the first part of it, like you've got to lay down, and I was laying down on my right side with my arm up, my right arm above my head, and I was just like shimmying down it.
So, for somebody that's claustrophobic, it's probably
No.
See, I'm
No.
claustrophobic.
You would have hated it.
Yeah.
And like, because it was a tight fit for me. At one point, I thought I got stuck, but I was like, nah. Like Kevin got down in there, and he may be a little bit bigger than me. I'm not sure, but he's definitely shorter than me. I will say, cave diving is not for tall people, not at all. Kevin's like the perfect guy for it because he's short and pretty slim.
Yeah.
Because there's some like nooks and crannies you have to get through and some bottlenecks, and we get out of that first tight spot and we go into this room, and it's always these bottlenecks. You go in a bottleneck, and then there's a room, it opens up, and then there's another bottleneck, and you go into another room. And the first room we went into, there are some stalactites that they had to have been at least like 6 inches in diameter.
God
It
bless.
it takes so long to form that stuff, and it's like this thing's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's one on the ground. It was broken in half, and it was at least 2 feet long, and like I said, 6 inches in diameter. And I got some really cool pictures from it and stuff. And we went into another room, and then the last room we went into, that one it probably had like 10-foot ceilings on it. It was insane, and that was the one the bigger guy couldn't go into, and that was the best cave there. And dude, it was so beautiful, and it's like there's only been a handful of people that's been down in this cave.
That's what I was gonna talk about. Was like, that either you're one of the first people down here,
Yeah.
or people a long time ago, or people really recent. So it's like there's a big range of what could have happened.
Yeah,
And like he was talking to us, that's why I asked him the question. Is like, have you ever been somewhere that was like really hard to get to, but you saw evidence of somebody else being there?
Yeah.
He was talking about that arrowhead that he found in there, and I was like, I don't think he said it could have been washed in there. I don't think he said that.
yeah, I think he said it could have been washed down in there. I forgot. We'd have to listen to the podcast again. I forgot why.
But that kind of stuff's interesting. Or like maybe you find like cave drawings, or hell, I don't know, maybe find a UFO or some shit down there.
That would be cool.
But yeah.
But no, it
pretty
was
interesting.
It was insane, and he went in this one. I wasn't gonna go into it, and he wasn't gonna let us because it was a 100-foot drop down in there. And if I remember right, and hopefully I'm not telling this story wrong, the way it was found, there was guys actually out there looking for caves a while back ago. I couldn't tell you how long ago it was, and they're like he does. He kind of like goes along streams that have been dried up, and they're just looking for something that had collapsed. And these two guys are walking, and this cave collapses in while the guy's on top of it, and he catches himself before he falls in, and it turns out it was a 100-foot drop down in there. And Kevin went down there to check the air so they could actually go down there because they're still discovering more back in there, and they call it Terror Hellhole because it's so scary down in there. And he was grappling on a rope down in there, and I mean, I haven't been trained on that, so there was no way I was doing that.
Could you imagine falling though?
So the way it was set up, it was like you went down 30 foot, and there was a shelf, and then you chained off to something else, hooked on to another rope, and then it was like 60 foot, and then like 10 other feet. So there was shelves you would hit if you fell, but either way you'd be screwed. But it was a really cool experience. Before I went, Dad was like, he's like, earthquakes happen, right? I said, yeah. He goes, rocks move when earthquakes happen, right? Because Dad, he's not about that. He's not about that at all. Cause
I don't blame him, dude. I'm kind of not, especially like I'm claustrophobic and I'm scared of heights. So there's two things right there.
I'd do it all over again if I could. In January, I think he's gonna go back. To swab some bats for testing. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe see if they have COVID. But yeah, he was like, if you want to come back, you can. So I'm gonna try to go back again because that was.
I bet it turns addicting. I bet it does.
It like, in the bats, there was one that woke up down there and it just kept swooping down at my head. And
should have punched it, bro.
It actually landed on my back for a second while I was like trying to get in that little tight bottleneck when we were getting out. But I'd do it again.
Dude, if I got stuck, I'd flip out.
No, you just got to keep your cool. The thing about it, there was no water in those because it's the top of the cave, so it's the top of the cave, so there's not going to be any water sitting there.
Yeah,
That's where a bunch of the water flow is going to be. So, but he said out there, all the caves are pretty much connected.
It's strange.
No, it was definitely a really cool experience, and I'd do it all over again. I've said that like 5 times, but
Yeah, I don't blame it. I bet it's fun. I bet it's addicting.
I was on a high for like a good week after that happened, because I wouldn't expect anything like that to be in Oklahoma. Is a weird thing, but No, it wasn't Kevin. I was listening to this guy. It was on Joe Rogan. Oh yeah,
it was on Jerry, and I was listening to this guy talk about connecting with nature and stuff like that. And I know who it was. It was the magician dude. Does all the crazy stuff. David Blaine, I think. Is that right?
I think so.
That's right. That's right. I know that's right. Well, he was talking about how he does all this crazy stuff, bro. Like,
yeah,
it's not a lot of the stuff he does, or almost all the stuff he does, isn't like fake. It's not just some random stuff that he did. Like, he actually does the stuff that he says he's gonna do.
yeah.
Like on the podcast, he stabbed an ice pick through his body.
Oh yeah.
Regurgitated a frog, like all kinds of stuff. But he was talking about how he went swimming with his daughter, like at some really beautiful exotic area, and while he was underwater, he saw this giant whale. And he said that him and the whale had eye contact, and that may have been a dolphin. I think it was a whale. And there was a little whale with it.
Yeah.
So I guess it was like the mom and the child, right? So he said that they started mimicking doing what he was doing, trying to communicate with him. Like, they would mimic the movements he would make.
Right.
And then, like, it smiled at him and stuff. And then they just kind of had, like, this really intimate moment, he said. And that's what I was referring to back with, like, energy, dude. Like, I'm starting to realize you can feel things. When somebody's in a bad mood, you can just feel that they're in a bad mood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And somebody's super happy, you can feel their energy. Now, I'm not some, like, big hippie kind of guy that's like, oh, energy, you know what I mean? But that's what we're made up of.
Right.
And that's what everything's made up of, in a sense. And it's...
Because Devin's here.
You feel like a connectivity with things, like, all around you. Like, I feel connectivity with being outside. I feel it with, like, just other people, animals. Like, you can just kind of feel it. And I don't know, dude. I've been diving deep into that lately.
Yeah. What's weird to me is that here lately, like, I'll be like, man, I need to call this person, and then they'll call me.
It's happened
like
to me, dude, yeah.
Or earlier, as soon as you text me, you said, what are you doing? I was literally right outside your door, about to knock on the door.
It's weird, bro. I can feel it. I don't know. I can feel when certain people are going to call me, and I'm not making any of this up. This is honest to God truth. And I've predicted when people are going to call me, and, like, I'll be thinking about somebody, and then then they'll call me, you know? I don't know, bro. I can just... It's something I'm starting to put a lot of emphasis into, and, like, realizing is, like, you can feel energy, and you can connect to other people's energy, and they'll match your energy, and I don't know, it's just weird. That's what I was, like, being outdoors, that's what I was putting an emphasis on, energies, because, I don't know, dude, you can just feel it. It's just something different.
No, I definitely agree with you. To a certain extent.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not going to be a hippie about it, though.
Yeah, like, you don't turn it into, like a religious thing or anything like that.
I'm not one of those people who believe in, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and the day before. I'm not one of those people who believe in your astrology. That's not going to determine who I am.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this too, and you know what I was talking to Devin, and you know what Devin doesn't believe in it either, but here's what I think, okay? When you dive deep into what our body's composed of, we're composed of like 99% stardust. So, like, all that's what we're composed of, right?
Right.
And I was thinking, if you could trace where that stardust came from, like if that's how it works, and you could trace it back to the group of stars that makes up your zodiac sign, and then you can create a trend pattern of how those people act, and you made it like a consistent trend okay, a cancer is going to have these characteristics, and so they're going to act, they're going to be goofy, they're going to do this, cut up, whatever, then maybe I could see an argument. But that's not what they do, and they really don't give a damn about that kind of stuff. And so it's just one of those things that people like to say about themselves that, well, this is the way I am is because of this, because of my zodiac sign. Yeah. I get angry because I'm a Gemini. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so dumb
Dude,
to me. I don't agree with that.
I was talking to someone about it. They're like, well, if you look at it this way, we're all born at a different time of the year. Like,
okay,
I was born in May, and then this person was born in January.
Okay.
So it's like, she goes, well, we came out and we were exposed to two completely different types of weather. I experience cold and you experience warmth. Yeah. I was like, but we were born in a hospital, so like.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's an argument for everything. I just think this one's more of like an excuse for why people act a certain. I could be wrong. I mean, I could be 100% wrong, but this is just my viewpoint. So take that with a grain of salt because this is my viewpoint. It's
just a bunch of very broad words that they throw in. It's like, oh, well, a Gemini does this because.
Yeah, I don't. You know what else I've been thinking about? I know, like, within our religion, we're not supposed to do these kind of things, but, like, you know, the tarot cards and stuff like that?
Mm-mm.
So, like, basically what it does is there are these cards. It's like getting your palm read, basically. Oh. Okay, so these cards are going to say basically what's going to happen to you within a certain amount of time, right? And so, obviously, like, within my religion, I'm not going to partake in magic because, you know, that's what it is. And that's what... one thing that we are completely barred against doing. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm so curious if it actually works. You know, because it may work for somebody, it may not work for somebody. But I don't know, dude. That stuff's interesting to me. It kind of ties in with the zodiac signs and stuff like that as well. I don't know.
I'm a skeptic of everything. I'm a skeptic of everything.
I want to experience everything. That's my problem.
Yeah, that's true. Back to the guy who walked the Yangtze River. His name is Ash Dykes. He walked 4,000 miles.
Jesus.
Longest river in Asia. But that's just a side note. But I don't know. I'm just a skeptic of everything. I like to research it before I do it, or just to if I even like argue against it, I want to do research on it.
That's how I am, yeah.
But I'm probably not going to believe it until I have some evidence of it, or I don't know.
Something also. There is something, even I know we're talking about zodiac signs, but this kind of goes with it. There is something weird about the stars. Like our ancestors and, you know, ancient civilizations, they put such an emphasis on stars. And that's how they were able to map out certain things like agriculture and things like that.
Yeah.
There's just something weird about how important the stars actually are, you know. And then I'll look up into the sky and I think, that seems close because I can see it, but it's really not. Yeah. And then on top of that, it's like, you know, like we see the moon and how, like, when you see a full moon, it's huge, right? The stars are going to be, some stars shine brighter than others, but they're generically going to be like the same view to your eye, you know? And so you got to think, like, there could be planets around that star, and then around that one, and then around that one, and then thinking the possibility of, like, there could be life around that one. I don't know. I think weirdly, but like I look up there and I think of all the possibilities that it could be, and then how our ancestors put such an emphasis on the stars. I see why people still, because you know that's like there's certain things with humans that are going to be around forever.
Yeah.
And emphasis on the stars is going to be one of them. And I've been thinking about that too. It's like emphasis on the stars is going to be something that humans always have around. Government is always going to be something humans have around because we think these things are super important.
Yeah.
Hunting, fishing, like what we were actually built upon, not the Constitution, none of that stuff. What our ancestors, when we first originated as humans, were built upon, which was hunting and gathering, being connected with nature, emphasizing the stars, all these things. Like those things are always going to be around. And it's weird to think that we're so progressive about some things, but we'll think millions of years back into the past about something, and those things will never change.
Yeah.
So we try to advance forward, and we push, but we're also going to think millions of years back in the past and hold on to those things. I've been thinking about that, too.
Well, we'll know a lot more once the Pentagon and CIA releases their info about the UFOs, and
180 days, bro.
after the COVID
Yeah,
relief
180
is signed,
days.
I'm really ready to.
We're to see what happens. I mean, it's bullshit, dude. Like, I know they think they're doing us justice by not telling us,
Just let us know, man.
but they don't understand how progressive our society is now. Like,
Yeah.
30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, arguably the 70s, because that's when we really started progressing. Arguably 70s. That would have affected them very badly.
Oh yeah, they would have lost their minds.
But today, people now, we literally accepted the fact that the coronavirus has literally changed society in such a way also that shaped people to think more tough about things, if that makes sense.
yeah, I feel like people are more open-minded,
Yeah,
more
exactly.
open-minded to things now too, because a lot of people want to talk to them like, "Hey, do you believe in UFOs?" Oh no, definitely.
Oh my god, dude.
And then, but the thing about it, when you say, "Do you believe in UFOs?" people automatically assume you're talking about a little gray alien. It's like,
Yeah, dude.
no.
I got into an argument with a guy at work, Raymond, of all people. I got into an argument with him because I said, "Do you believe in aliens?" And he said, "The little green or gray guys." And Raymond's actually pretty smart.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Little green or gray guys?" He said, "No, I don't believe that." He said, "But maybe bacteria and stuff like that." I said, "So you don't think there's a possibility of life anywhere else?" He said, "Well, if there is," he posed a good question. He said, "If there is, and they're as advanced as we think they are, why would they come here?" And I said, "Okay, that's a good question." And I was like, "Resources. Maybe they need certain resources." And he said, "Well, if they're that advanced, why would they come to Earth for resources? Why would they not just go to millions of other planets?"
Raymond's asking the real questions, dude.
And I was sitting here thinking, and like some of these things I didn't have a legitimate answer for, but I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, if aliens were hypothetically real, there are a couple good reasons that I can think of why they would be here.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, "No, I'm not saying they're here now." I said, "But I think there's a good possibility they could have been here when civilization first was created and started going off. Like if this is a hypothetical." And he said, "So why would they be here?" I said, "To see the advancement of the human civilization, kind of make sure they're doing things right, and get them going one step forward, and then once they got it figured out, kind of get out of the way and then go." And I was like, I see that possibly happening. And he said, "Well, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good point." He said, "But why would they just leave then?" I said, "Well, why would they get in the way?" I said, "Why would they not want us to kind of figure it out on our own?"
Let's see what happens here.
But me and him kind of got an argument about it, and I was like, "Well," I said, "the only way we're going to know is until we actually see what happens." And I said,
Yeah.
"I said, I think before we die, I said, we'll find out what truly is going on."
Find out in 6 months.
I think we're going to find out truly. If it doesn't happen within 6 months for some reason, I think before we die, we'll know.
Well, who was it already came out? The government already came out and said, "Hey, yeah, UFOs are real." In the middle of the pandemic, when everybody was distracted, though, was a thing.
See, I dove deep into aliens about 2 years ago. I mean, I always looked at them as a kid, and watched Ancient Aliens and stuff. I mean, that's not credible at all. But that's not credible at all. But I started diving deep into aliens like 2 years ago, and I got like Bob Lazar, David Fravor, Joe Rogan's a huge alien guy, huge alien guy. And then I listened. I told you need to listen to this one, the Jacques guy, and I think you said you did listen to it a little bit.
Yeah, it was just I was in the car and it was just super quiet. Jacques was super
He's
quiet.
hard to understand, yeah. But that one was like huge for me. That one was a huge one because what they did is they went to different countries and continents, bro, getting these stories and connecting some stories. Like they connected two stories. One was in Zimbabwe and the other one was in Australia, I want to say. To where this UFO came down to the school, and then 87 kids saw it. They drew pictures all about it. The teachers, like, they literally came out and said, "This happened at our school." And then they got all these kids and interviewed the kids, and they all said the same thing. And then they showed them the pictures, and all the pictures lined up. And then they went to Australia, where it happened at another school, and they had the exact same pictures.
And that's just a coincidence, though.
Just coincidence.
People
I don't
just
know.
put that off as a coincidence. There's
I don't
no
know.
way. 87 kids. There's no way.
I don't know.
I know kids have a big imagination, but come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see that as being something you can just write off. I mean, they came out and said, and it was on the one in Australia was on the news, but this happened like years ago, like a long time ago. But
I have to look into that.
But they connect the drawings connected, and then the drawings also connected to these cave paintings in Asia.
What part of Asia?
I can't remember what part of Asia, but it was in Asia. That's what he said. I don't think he specified. He may have, but I think he just said Asia. But is that not weird how it all connects?
Dude, it is. I think they're real.
There's something. Joe Rogan makes a good argument because he talks about interdimensional.
Yeah.
Like when you get high off DMT, whatever, you trip, and you see the gnomes. You know what I'm saying? Like they say, a lot of people experience the same thing. That's why they believe interdimensional could be a
The
possibility.
DMT elves.
But I don't know. I think that's I don't know. It's just something to think about. And that the reason we brought it up is because in 180 days, the government has 180 days to kind of start disposing evidence of what they have at UFOs.
Is it all the evidence or just?
See, it didn't.
I
really
bet it's
elaborate.
not like super.
I don't
it's
think
not
the president.
All the information.
When I was listening to Jacques and that other guy talk about it, because Jacques originally from France, I believe, and he was saying that shit works different over there how it works over here. He said over there when stuff like that happens,
Everyone knows.
everybody knows, and that it's reported and it's talked about. Here, it tries to get covered up.
I don't know why either.
They just cover it up here. I
guess they think we're gonna freak out. I guess they think it's the 40s, 50s, and 60s,
And then they also, like he also said, like he doesn't believe the president has the power. Like when Trump said, "Oh, I'm going to tell you guys about aliens," and then he said a little bit. I mean, he's disposed some evidence, but I don't think he has the actual power to do so. I think agencies like the FBI and the CIA, I think they hold all that power. And, they've been sneaky since the creation of them.
Yeah, most definitely. You see where the ATF is looking for a little hand grenade right now? Apparently, it's like a live hand grenade. Somebody had it at a pawn shop, thought it was just dead. It was a dud. And now the ATF is looking for it. But
Jesus,
I don't like the ATF anyway.
They
don't need to be.
I know me, you, and Acornhead talked about this.
Shout out Acornhead.
About how Jack Ma went missing because he spoke out on the Chinese government and their regulations.
Oh, yeah.
Chinese billionaire has been missing for weeks because he spoke out against China.
That dude dead.
Oh, he's gone, 100%.
That guy's dead.
They don't give a damn over there, bro. They just prosecuted a Chinese reporter for 10 years in prison for reporting about the coronavirus. Like outside of China. Like how she was reporting about what it was like within China.
Oh.
Yeah. From my understanding, it went to outside areas other than China. And she got prosecuted. 10 years. And it's like, what I'm glad I don't live over there. You can't even get on, there's no Wikipedia over there. They hide information from their citizens. So, I don't know, dude. It's weird over there.
Oh, well. Are you good?
Yeah, whenever.
Okay.
I don't care.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. It was definitely a new experience for us. Hopefully, it was definitely different not having a guest on. We're still kind of getting. I am. I don't know about Caleb, but I'm definitely getting adjusted to it. So.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. We covered a wide range of topics, and something that our guests are going to have to understand is we're going to be consistent about the things we talk about. And with that being said, I'm not saying that, we're going to talk the same thing every time, but we're going to talk about a lot of the same stuff every time because, one, it's relevant to today. Number two, it's content that, we enjoy, and I know a lot of people enjoy, like with an imaginative mind, as well as we're open-minded to talk about anything. So we can range from religion to politics to society normalities, anything. And so we're going to be consistent about the stuff we do. Now, I want our viewers to understand that when we began this podcast, this is the things that we were excited to talk about, excited to do. Yeah. And so we're always open to suggestions. So if you guys want to DM us anything on social media, text me or Zach or whoever, and you're interested in talking about something, we're always open to that.
Anybody that you may think would be an interesting guest.
100%. So
yeah, definitely. Because it's always, I feel like one of the things I like about a podcast is that you can have guests on, and you can have so many different people from walks of life come on, and they have all these different point of views. So that's what I love about it. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, let us know. I think this next one's going to be really good, going to be really fun. So
kind of hit that musical realm.
Oh yeah,
kind of enter that. I'm not.
I mean, we already did with Derek.
Yeah, we did with Derek
Wade
and Mike. Mike talked about his music and stuff going forward, but music is it's a cool thing for me to learn about because I don't know a lot about music. I know a lot about genres of music, but I don't know the mechanics of music, how to make music, if that makes sense. I don't know how to put all the instruments together. I don't know how certain instruments are played.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about that. And
I forgot who said it. He was a guitar player. He said, the more I play guitar, the more I learn how little I know about it.
Yeah, and that's how I'm kind of feeling about music. That's why I enjoy having these guests that have a music background, because I don't know the mechanics of it. I like breaking everything down. I see the big picture. I see where it all leads to, but I don't know anything about it. So when they talk about their creative process, and some people have a complete different creative process. Some dudes can just go in there and do it, or some females can just go in there and do it and be done. Some it takes a couple of days, couple of weeks. Like, you never know. So I enjoy that. So I'm kind of excited for this next episode.
Oh, yeah.
We got going.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all next time.